Howdy guys, welcome back to another episode of 3G's Garage. My name is Greg. Today we're going to be working on continuing our work on our GPEX build. The reason we call it the GPEX is because it's a Frankenstein marrying of a 74 GPX and a 77 Exciter 440 or an EX 440. Essentially very similar chassis. We're using the GPX engine, but it's going to be custom seat off of a Viper. I think it was like an 02 Viper or something like that. And right now we're at like a stumbling point here. We've been kind of sitting here brainstorming. This is Keegan's sled. But it's going to require some custom work again, unfortunately. One of the major issues with the 76, 77 EX 440s and the both years 74 and 75 GPXs, their major Achilles heel on them is the gas tank. All of these Yamahas we work on have plastic tanks. And the plastic tanks on these sleds are really prone to breaking. They break around the filler neck. I can show you. So over here we've got an original tank here, and what happens on them is the mounting point that would normally be right here, it snaps off. This part of the tank cracks. There's just too much pressure on this latch when you push the latch shut. I think they fixed that a little bit on the newer designs. This tank here was off of an Enticer 300. And what we're going to try to do today is we're going to try to kind of retrofit our chassis over there to accept the Enticer tank. So we've got a couple of ideas for you on that. I guess I can kind of just take it over here and set it in there, show you some stuff. So what we've got to contend with here is, as you can see, the factory straps or the mounting of the gas tank for the Enticer, the strap runs across here, ties in the center down here, which we have nothing for that. And then also you need a lower mounting point here so you have some downward pressure on the tank. So we need to, our old mounting point from the Exciter would be up here. And it's pretty close, but I'm just worried if we tied into right here that we're not going to get enough downward force and our tank isn't going to be secured. The last thing you want when you're ramming around on the racetrack is having your gas tank move around in your lap. So, yeah, so I think the idea is we've got, we pulled a 300 Enticer chassis that was pretty beat up, pretty much just destined for the junk. So we took the bulkhead off of that, which is right here, and here's where the gas tank mounts. And the idea is we're going to mount that, we'll rivet that down in the center here, and basically run our strap kind of backwards. We're going to look for a way to modify these mounting points for this bar, and we're going to try to get this bar down a little bit so it sits down in here, and then we can get more of a downward pull with the gas tank. We might actually have to modify one of these straps as well because our distance is going to be different from the standard Enticer. But this is a project we got to get to. We've been a little bit behind the 8 ball on this one. Keegan had to wait till the new year to get his engine into the shop and get that. I believe he's having the cylinders bored on that and a new set of pistons and going over the crankshaft and stuff on it. But we're behind on that deal. So we want to try to get the chassis as close to ready as we can, so that when we get the engine back, we can slap that in and everything else should be kind of ready to go. We got our clutching done. We've got a lot of the other stuff. Our skid is all reworked and all that. So a lot of the sled is ready, but this custom stuff just takes a lot of time. So stick with us, and we're going to show you what we do along the way here. All right, guys, so made a little progress here. Take you along for the ride. So I notched the two brackets out. I had to trim. There was a nut welded to the back side of this bracket. I took that off on both sides. So this is going to slide in underneath. Just taps in. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to use, we're going to run the factory bolts here. Actually, it's this one, I think. Run the factory bolts up from underneath. This bar used to sit on top, and then you would put the bolts in, and they would thread into the nuts here. But we're going to mount it underneath, go like that. Keegan got this bracket off of the bulkhead from the enticer. And the plan with that is we're going to take that. Actually, I'll set our tank in here. Actually fits really nice on the front side. This is really good height.
That's factory.
It's pretty snug there. We're going to wrap one of these straps around that. We're going to take our bracket from the ET, rivet that down here where it makes sense.
You should be off to the races.
And that should be pretty much it. We're going to have to loop one of these around here, drill that out and rivet it. I've never tried to mess with these on a custom. This material is super thin, so I'm a little nervous about that we're going to be able to make this straps work. But as of right now, that is the plan. So we're gonna proceed with that and keep moving forward here. All right, guys. So a little bit farther along here, took a little pit stop for lunch. Our initial thought was to go with the bracket off the bulkhead. We decided to go in a different direction with that because I just thought that if we put this on here, you know, the tunnel is just thin aluminum. You know, it's like you're just going to be pulling from a central location right on that, you know, right in the center of this span of aluminum here. I just thought, so we cut this piece off of the Enticer 300 chassis, and then we trimmed the ends of it off. So what we're going to do is, it's got like this little L bend in it, and that gives it a little bit of strength in the upward direction for pull. So we're going to actually set this in like so. We're going to rivet it 3 on each side, and then I think I'm just going to put a couple little welds across on the ends. So we'll have some strength holding it down on the outside edges, and then we'll have it secured in the center as well. So that should be a little bit better. It does present some challenges, though, in terms of how we're going to strap it down, because now we're using a different connection point. We're going to have to kind of custom some of these straps together. But when we get to that point, we'll fill you in on what we're doing there. So, all right, guys. So I think we're ready to assemble the gas tank strap and everything. We got our bracket in place back here, riveted to the top of the tunnel. A couple little spot welds here to hold the edges in. So this is good and secured. Got our factory mounting point there. What we ended up opting for in the front is a little bit different from what we discussed, but we could not come up with the right size strap. And instead of a lot of these, the metal gets so weak on them, it just gets pitted and it breaks, and these are difficult to work with. So instead of trying to loop this around the bar and rivet it together, you know, this might be a little bit of a redneck way to do it, but so I took one of these clip ends off of one of the straps that was shot that we had, actually this one right here. And I took that original mounting bracket from the bulkhead that we showed earlier, and I trimmed that all down, Yeah, it's going to be hard to see, but I trimmed the sides off of that bracket. I opened that slot up some more, and we're just using that as a buckle now. So we've got one of the hook ends on one side going one way, and we've got one hooked in going the other way. And we've got 2 heavy duty hose clamps. That's kind of the janky part of it. We were trying to think of a way to secure this properly, and honestly, I think these 2 hose clamps is going to be more than enough holding power for that. So,
I mean, with how tight this strap is going to be going into its new home, I mean, there shouldn't be much slop. I mean, it should be secured pretty well.
Right.
Plus, this bar is nice and tight, and
yeah,
you know, it should. I think it should be all right.
yeah. So we're going to go ahead and just button that up here. We'll attempt to show you guys that here while we're doing it. Just to kind of, it is a tight fit. So
Loctite on there.
yeah, we're gonna put a little Loctite on it because we don't have the appropriate bolt per se.
Oh, it's got a lot. It ain't going anywhere.
Let's paint it. We'll paint it blue. I'm going or not.
Here you go.
Yep, I got her. All right, so we'll tighten these up on this end.
So this sled is going to be an amalgamation of enticer parts,
Amalgamation.
exciter parts, GPX engine.
Who is this guy?
What?
Amalgamation?
What word did you
know what that means?
What word did you want me to say?
I don't know.
A hodgepodge.
Yeah. Conglomeration.
Conglomeration.
Any of the above, I guess. Keegan throws out some big words occasionally, and I'm not even sure that he knows exactly what he's saying, but that sounds good, you know?
That's fake news.
All right, so just as long as those are tight up in front, that one can go tighter yet because it's still not conformed to the pipe. I'll let you know. Just keep going.
It's pulling this.
That's okay. Keep going.
I can't go anymore. It's butted into there. I mean, that's. Oops.
Okay.
I should.
Yeah, and then I'll tighten the back down.
This is always what I was best at, holding the flashlight.
And he's got plenty of years of training of that. That ain't going anywhere. Sorry, we just shook you guys. We weren't having an earthquake here, but
That's factory.
so yeah, she's good and tight.
The next
I'm liking that.
issue is trying to fit a shroud over the top of this thing, but
Yeah,
it'll be all right.
we're gonna carry on with the work.
At least we got a fuel cell
Yeah.
now.
I don't know how far we're gonna go with this one, but we'll let you guys know when we're finished for the day for sure. So.
Okay, guys, it's a couple days later since we shot those last clips, but I think we're ready to keep moving along here on the gas tank project. So we got the mounting all done. We started putting a shroud together for the tank, and I think next step in line is there's some old gas in here. We're going to switch that out, replace the in-tank filter, replace all the lines, and then it should be ready to just stick back on there, and then we can get our seat mounted, get our handlebars mocked up. So we got to get this done in order to keep moving forward. So I already clipped this level line. I'm going to replace that anyways. We covered it in a previous video, but whenever we're this far into a build, it's crucial to not only replace all the lines, but there's supposed to be a filter on the end of this. Always want to check or replace the in-tank filter because we've seen it so many times where the in-tank filter has disintegrated or fallen off, or half the time they're 35, 40 years old by the time we get to them. So you can see that this one is not even with us anymore. I already did check the tank. It's not in there, so I don't know if they, I don't know what gas tank this, or what sled this gas tank is off of, but I'm guessing that the filter plugged up and they just opened it up and ditched the whole thing. But because some of these lines are not factory, all of them aren't factory, so someone was in here at one point. So I'm gonna start taking all these lines off, replacing them with some fresh stuff, and then I'll put a new in-tank filter on it. All right, so I've got my gas tank all stripped down. I switched it out with some fresh gas. The gas that was in there was pretty gross, so it's good to get that stuff out. I wouldn't say it's like that common, but we've definitely seen it before. These level petcocks on the bottom of the gas tank will crack because it's pretty thin plastic right here. So if you're not careful removing that, you can overbend it or crack it when you're taking that line off. So I like to hit it with the hair dryer for a little bit, heat that line up, and also kind of give that plastic a little bit of flexibility, and then just take my time pulling that off so that I don't risk cracking that. And same for going back on. You want to be super gentle with this here, because if that cracks, then you have to figure out how to reseal it and whatnot. So next step, I'm going to just start putting some lines on. I'm probably just going to do the level, the vent, and then I'll probably run like a really long line off the gas spigot because I don't have carbs or a fuel pump on it yet, so I can't really figure out where I'm going to plumb that. So I'm just going to put a long line on there as a rough estimate. But also got our new filter going on there. These are also kind of fragile. Just want to be gentle with it when you're putting it on there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just start slapping this thing back together here. Okay guys, so I put the gas tank in here, and just trying to figure out where I'm gonna run my main fuel line here. And I bought this for my SRX and it ended up not working. It's just a brand new Mikuni fuel pump. But we're trying to figure out where we're gonna mount this because this chassis doesn't really have an acceptable place to put this. Exciter wasn't expecting to have a massive dual fuel pump on it. So I think what we're gonna end up doing here is putting a bracket here and having the fuel pump kind of sit right up here, and then we can run our outlets down and so on and so forth. So we're just gonna put this here, and then I think just gonna weld this piece on, bolt it up to it. So I'm gonna trace this best I can now. So we want it up off the tank. That should be good there. And this is just gonna be like a rough scratch of what the final bracket will end up being like here. Sharpie kind of sucks. So we'll lop all this off, and then this will kind of be like a template, and then we can trim it up to make it look pretty once we get it finished. So I'm gonna cut this out and see where we end up here. All right, fast forward here a little bit. Kind of put our heads down and got to work, but that's the finished bracket. It's pretty strong, but I don't know where I set the fuel pump here. That's where it will sit when it's done. And on top of that, we kind of finished up the mounting for the gas tank shroud. Welded 2 studs, and then made this bracket here with a nut welded on it. it's a little bit of a janky fit, but half the sled is hodgepodge. So as long as it bolts together, it'll be fine. So we're gonna put the fuel pump on, run the main fuel line, gas tank back on, and then we'll put the shroud on and we'll show you the finished product. Okay, so it just about does it for the fuel system. You can see that the fuel pump sits up there pretty nicely and it's pretty strong. The main line comes down and around here. You can see all the lines running out there. And then the pulse line is back behind there. So we got this little opening here for that. And then we got our 2 outlets. Yeah, almost looks semi-factory, not really. But it is strong. It is, up to code, but now we got to start working on all this stuff down here. I think we'll, maybe next we'll get the seat mounted, and then we got some stuff going on for the handlebars here. But yeah, I think that should be it for this video on the fuel system. So yeah.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on another video. Appreciate you guys staying with us through this. As we speak, we're getting some snow. I don't think it's going to be much, but they predicted some for this coming week, and it's looking like winter might finally turn around here, which is nice. But yeah, thanks for sticking with us while we try to shape this chassis up. Keegan's got the engine work happening currently at Millennium, right? Where are you at with that?
Well, tried to put the crank case together yesterday. A little bit of complications there, but it should be easy. And then I got to wait for the cylinders to be ported, bored, and honed, and then it should be ready to go back together.
Yeah, so he's putting together a real good part for this old unit. So in the meantime, though, we're going to keep getting the chassis ready. So I think next on the list is mounting seat, like you said, and then we've got to get the handlebars raised up. But like I said, for now, this will do it. Since all the work is done for today, we're going to crack a beverage. Today we've got the old Miller Lite. You grabbed light beer?
Hey, I have your car towed all the way to your house, and all you got for me is light beer?
Yep. We don't have cans today, but bottles will have to do.
Pretty good
stuff.
huh?
Good stuff.
Yeah. Looks like it. Catch you guys in the next one.
See ya.